Hi guys, Nessie here. Welcome back to another video. Took me some time to get the teams ready for the next Titan video. Of course, all these enhancements and all that stuff is taking quite some time, and I was also a bit lazy, so this is the next part. This time we will talk about the Water Titan. Let me direct in the beginning make it clear that nothing is so easy to build than the Fire Titan team. So you should focus a lot later for the other Titans. Like, they have some really good monsters which are easy to get, but the damage dealers are hard to get. So I would say let's first take a look at the Astro Guide, what is good and what not. Then we are going into the fights. I would say the first thing that we should take a look at obviously are the attackers. If I would have to rank them, the Merlin would be the first. Merlin is by far the strongest. Nothing comes close to him. The next one is the Enkidu. If you can see the stats, damage and all that is really good. High defense, high HP, low recovery, exactly how we want it. Courageous strike on the passive, which is exactly what we need. And a usable skill for the active. Leader skill also nice, but of course that's really rare to get. But of course also a really nice leader skill. So I would rank the Enkidu on the second place. For the third place it's already a bit harder. I personally would say the third rank is the, where do we have her? There, the Enkidu. Why I'm struggling a bit between it is maybe Thor can replace her. The reason why I'm saying that is normally the Zubaji is stronger, but you have to compare her to a booked Thor, so they come really close to each other, and of course it's a lot easier to get an Evo 3 Thor than an Evo 3 Zubaji, in my opinion. But if we are adding everything, Zubaji is the third. Has the Courageous Strike on the passive, again exactly how we want it. On the passive you will use the Courageous Strike more often than on the active, so this is exactly how we want it. Blind, obviously a useless skill because we have trinkets, so we are reducing the crit rate of the Titan to 0. Leader skill really good. And the active is a single target attack, so the multiplier is higher than from an AoE attack. So at least in case she's getting an orb, she's dealing more damage than, for example, the Thor. So I would rank her third. And then we are at another struggle. Who would come afterwards? Is it Thor or maybe even Pinolo? Like, I haven't used the Pinolo for a very, very long time. But Pinolo, of course, can also deal very decent damage. So I would say they are kind of equal. Where do we have the Thor? There. As you can see, stat-wise already a bit lower, lacking a bit of attack. Defense is still decent and HP is kinda high. You can see that from the very low recovery, so the stat distribution is really decent. And of course it's a lot easier to book a 4-star monster than a 5-star monster, especially when there are two stronger net 5s with Enkidu and Merlin. So Thor is really decent, but you have to pay attention that his Courageous Strike is based on crits, so he really needs crit rate, and for some other monsters, let's say 85 or 90% is already enough. But for Thor, if he's not landing the crit, he's also not landing the Courageous Strike, so the damage will drop from a lot to basically 0. Keep that in mind. So yeah, then we have the Thor. And another point, in the front lane, it's incredible hard to play a decent Thor because you need max resistance and you need max crit rate, and you still want to deal damage. So it might be a better idea to put something else in the front where you're not forced to have very, very high crit rate. Then, as I said, we have the Pinolo, should be somewhere here. Come on, Pinolo, there. You can see stat-wise, of course, a lot less. So he's a bit more RNG dependent in my opinion. Once it was by far the strongest, then Merlin came, then the active skill was changed from Courageous Strike to Unflinching Strike, but it's still dealing a lot of damage. And the more of the stat stuff is added to the game, like lately the enhancements, and it's even a much bigger advantage for a Pinolo to have these flat stats. Take a look at his defense. If you're adding 600 flat defense, that's so much already. So he's becoming stronger and stronger the more stuff that is added with stats. So I have a bit of a struggle if he's stronger than the Thor or Thor is stronger than him, because it's ages ago that I used the Pinolo the last time. So either of them, I would say, has the 4th rank and the other one the 5th. So basically, again, Merlin, Enkidu, Zubaji, and then either Thor or Pinolo Thor, depending. Like, the thing is, if we have to compare them, I would say the damage of Thor, the average damage, is higher, because his Courageous Strike is on passive, but his stats are higher. So he should be able to hit more of these attacks, but if the orb is going into the Thor, then he's dealing basically no damage, because he's jumping in the air, trying to hit this blind, doing no damage. While if Pinolo is getting the orb, it's basically dealing around the same damage. Courageous Strike have the multiplier of 5, so in the end it's 600% damage, while Unflinching Strike has 300, which in the end is 400% damage. Single target 2.3, so it's around 6. So it's basically a Courageous Strike attack on the active as well. But keep in mind that before it was a single target Courageous Strike, so that was a lot higher, but he's still really good. And the only other decent attacker, which is really worth to go for, in my opinion, would be the Alpaca. Alpaca is the worst of all of them, but still strong enough. The problem with Alpaca is it's really dependent on the active. If you're hitting the passives all the time, that really sucks. You don't want to use a Water Hunter or whatever against a Titan. You want to hit Courageous Strikes, Unflinching Strikes and whatever. But it's still a decent monster. You have the leader skill and all that. So it's totally fine. Also very easy to book if you have the books. If not, you can fuse them. So him and the Pinolo are normally kinda easy to book and get all the stuff ready. Just keep in mind, again, based on crits. That was the attacker. Let's take a look at the debuffer. The thing is, obviously you're always trying to get the debuffs from monsters that have other useful skills. If you can't, then there are some debuffers which are good enough, but the end result should be that it's like, for example, a Courageous Striker, which has on the other skill a debuff, or stuff like that. So let's take a look at the debuffers. We have some monsters which are partly debuffer, partly healer, for example. You can see that with the Wood Bust. Has the defense down, has the attack up, but the problem with the Bust is that basically the Wood Hunter is existing, so Bust is not the best in slot. So yeah, that would be a good debuffer, also buffer with the attack up. But yeah, let's take a look at only debuffers. Sansang, double attack down. Kinda decent, but she's not needed. She has 90% 2-turn and 60% 2-turn, and you are not going for books, you're not even going for Evo 3, maximum Evo 2. But you can save these 3 gleams. You can simply go for a Wood Radius in case you need attack down. Then we have, let's take a look. The Wood Wukong, double defense down, 70% 3-turn, 70% 2-turn. He's good, but his attack animation is not fitting into the current teams which are trying to use Expose Weakness. where the animation of the attack is very important. And he's not fitting there because especially his active skill is super slow. A much cheaper and better version is the wood amphibian, the frog. Then we have the Garuda. I was not mentioning him for attacker because his main role is being a debuffer, while on the other hand also adding damage. His main role is not being someone that is dealing damage. He's the best in slot for the weaken skill, but there are other options, for example the Water Draker. He really needs the books to be by far the best. So yeah, he has the weaken, 70% 2-turn and the Courageous Strike, so he will deal damage. And it's not even rare for late game teams to drop 20 million or so on the left side. Here you see with the skill books, he's getting the very, very important 3rd turn. And with that, he's by far the strongest weakened debuffer. Let's see, what else do we have here? Nothing interesting, nothing interesting. The Tails is here, but also a lot of stuff is not working for him. Lupin, double attack down, also not needed, too expensive compared to a Wood Raiders, which is also totally fine. Wood Yuki, double exposed weakness, also really good. In general, I think he's a bit out of flavor because there is Wood Mio Wings, which has the advantage that if you are using a Garuda, has the exposed weakness and an attack up heal, so it brings safety with the heal, while the attack up is also bringing damage. So Yuki is totally fine, but most people are using the Wood Mio Wings as the exposed weakness monster. Then we have stuff like Leo and all that, but these mixed debuffers are really not good enough nowadays anymore. So you should really try to stay away from them. And there are cheaper monsters which have better skill sets, so you can completely stay away from it. Wood Hannah has an attack down, we are coming later to her. We would have, for example, which we currently have, the Wood Mary. Also kind of fine, but keep in mind crit based. It can go up to obviously 100% defense down, but she has a much bigger problem, that's her attack animation. The passive is incredibly slow and steals the exposed weakness, so stay away from her. Then we have, let's take a look. Here we have the Raiders that I was talking about. This is basically the poor man's attack down, and this should be the only sole attack downer that you are using. Any other like Lupin or Sansang are too expensive. Don't waste Gleams for Sansang, and also don't waste Lupin copies for this. Simply go for the Raiders. The point is, first of all, it looks really weak, but the book's making it really good. 20% more, and here it's getting another turn. So in the end, it will be 50% 3-turn and 70% 2-turn, which is more than enough. If the 3-turn is landing, of course, really great. But in general, the Wood team tends to have too much attack down when you are using a real attack downer. So having some a bit lower chances is more than fine. There are other best in slot monsters which also have the attack down, like an example, the Hannah. Then if you are going a bit further into more late game, you have the Dark Venus, you have the Light Shark. All of them have attack down, so it's totally fine if this one is a bit lower. Then we have the Amphibian that I was talked about. This is at the moment the best defense downer that the Wood element in general has to offer, and is even played by most endgame players. So it's really a cheap one. 3-star, nothing special, has his defense down skills, very important to give them books, and then this is a really decent debuffer. Here we have the Mio Wings. Like I said, this is currently the one that is more in flavor than the Wood Yuki because it brings more safety. overall it's basically the same idea. It brings expose weakness with a very slow attack animation, so that it's going to the other side where the damage dealer is making use of the expose weakness and dealing double damage. Plus the attack up is added, which if you're using, for example, a Garuda on the left side where you have it as a healer, the Garuda is also profiting from it. Let's see, is there anything else that we want to use? Overall, I don't think so. There are like other monsters, as an example, the Wood Mushi. If you're going, like, Wood Mushi in general is really strong. So in case you are very new to the game and you have a Wood Mushi build for PvE content, of course he can also be used in Titans, but don't go for him just for Titans. Like, the monster itself is super strong, really good for Colossus and clearing bosses and all that stuff. But don't go for him if you only want to have him for Titans. Not good enough. That might be an option, but I really would stay away from it. Has also the defense down on both skills, 60% 2-turn, the other one also, I think. Yeah, 50%. So what was it, 80%, 50%? Yeah, 80%, 50%. That's of course good enough, and it's super easy to get in case you don't want to go for the wood amphibian, the frog. But normally it's also kind of easy to get the frog, so you should directly go for the frog in my opinion. So that's it for the debuffer. Healer, there are also not many. Overall we have like 4 healer or 5 healer which are good. Like I said, the Meo Wings on the left side as a healer while also bringing the exposed weakness. And of course twice as good if you have the Garuda as debuffer there because of the attack up, since Garuda also can deal damage. The other really important healer would be the Hana, super important, because she has the very important defense up and an attack down, which is going to 2 turns, which is super strong. She's by far the best in slot healer that you can get. And most people use 4 of her and booked. So you can see you really have to use monsters which are a bit harder to make ready. For example, it might not be too hard to get 4 Hanas, they can even be Evo 2, but giving all of them books so the attack down is there is a lot harder. And yeah, like I said, another healer would be the Wood Bust, but most people stay away from it, especially also because the early stages have kind of fast attack skills, so it might steal the exposed weakness. And yeah, people mostly tend to simply go for attack down with the Hana, because there are other really good attack up healers. One is the Light Shark. Let's see, where do we have it? Come on, Shark, there. It basically has everything that you want from a healer, except that it has no elemental advantage. If the Water Titan is attacking a wood monster, it obviously takes a lot less damage. So it's 50% it's the reduction that the monster is taking. So for a light monster with very low stats, obviously it's really hard to make it ready. So most people go for HP defense and completely avoid recovery. If you can get it from a set bonus or if you can get it from substats, that's nice. But most people try to avoid it as a main stat. And it's exactly giving what we need. The attack down and attack up. Here it's going to 2 turns, 2 turns attack up on a healer, obviously really nice. And the 3-turn attack up, also really nice. Another very important point which all of these attack up healers have is that they are instantly healing. The moment they are getting the orb, they are healing. While other healers, as an example the Hana, which is good for her, but it wouldn't be good for an attack up healer. healing when there is a certain threshold reached. I think it's 60% or so. I'm not 100% sure when it's reached, but they're only starting to heal then, which you would like to avoid for an attack up healer, because you directly want to make use of the attack up. And the best in slot attack up healer is the Dark Venus. Of course, all of them are not that easy to get, especially the Dark Venus. A lot of people most likely don't have, or have 2 Evo 3s, so it's rare to have enough of them. But she's basically the good or the stronger version of the Light Shark. Has a slower attack animation, so she's not stealing any exposed weakness. Has the attack down and has the attack up, plus better stats. Books are not that important for her. She's getting some recovery, okay, and only 10% of the passive skill. So it would be, I think, 90%, yeah, 90%, which is kind of cool, but it's not needed. While, for example, for the Shark, these skills are really needed. But yeah, this is the best in slot attack up healer. And yeah, that's it for the monsters. I will first show you, I would say, mid-game team. You can see from the monster that I'm using, most of them are like around this. They have random gems. You can see nothing, just some resistance. Here not even plus 12. It was just having some defense. This one, it's in general a really strong gem for a defense aggression monster or so, but I just used it because I had it and it has some resistance. So that it's getting some resistance in that. So this is the overall, I would say, gem quality. You can see it's nothing crazy. They have no trinkets, nothing. That's how you should do it as well, in my opinion. Give them random trinkets that they are getting some crit resistance. They don't need to be upgraded. Just from the gems alone, they are strong enough. Then we have, let's see, the sharks. They are a bit more important. You can see I tried to give them some enhancements. They have, except the middle one, they have some trinkets. Middle one, of course, can give them advantages as well, like resistance and some recovery. But I would say these two are far more important because they are giving the tankiness, the HP, the defense. And yeah, this is how they are all. Then we have, let's take a look, the Hanas. You can see some are not even Evo 3. But it's important to have the first skill level 5. As you can see here, this one rolled really decently. Only one roll into the def up. This is something that you can do later. Important is the 2-turn attack up. And if all of them are booked afterwards, then you can go for the skill up that the defense up is even stronger. But for now, it's very important to focus on the attack down. So as you can see, the other ones were partly also nice. These two only had one roll into the def up, which is super nice. And for the other two, I was not that lucky. And yeah, it's basically the same again. They have HP defense recovery gems. And in general, she has so much effective HP that she should be fine, especially when you are using a damage dealer, which is kind of squishy. As an example, the Pinolo, the Thor also kinda, the Alpaca. You don't need to waste trinkets on them. I'm using the Raiders, as you can see. No, I'm not using the Raiders anymore. I switched them out, I think. Yeah, I switched them out. But when I was getting the last Hanas ready, I was switching them out before I was using them. As you can see, level 50 is totally fine. Like, they are super tanky for what they are. And you are adding 3 defensive gems, like HP, HP defense, or defense, defense, HP. So they are tanky enough at level 50. No need to waste more resources in them. And then afterwards, because I have the Shark and the Hanas, so I have 3 sources of attack down with 2 Hanas, one left side, one right side, and the Shark. That's more than enough. Then we have, let's take a look, the Alpacas. Of course, you can see I'm using a lot of them. And I'm trying to give them really good gems, but this is the best that I have. They have some enhancements, of course. Don't be a fool and go for 6/6 for every monster. The higher the enhancements, the more expensive they are. Try to get some, for example, this one is completely missing the attack up, the flat attack and the attack percent, but it's fine. He has 4 useful things. Here you can see the same here, it's missing some defense, but the higher you go, they are becoming far more expensive. So stay at 3, stay at 4, maybe even 2. They are really cheap, especially the first or the second. And yeah, you can see I was trying to give them really good gems, best that I have, I would say. And they're making use of their own lead, so they have 20% more, which is bringing a lot of them to around 90% or some even above 100%. And the left side alpaca is trying to just get as much crit rate as it's possible. This one, for example, has 100%. They have all trinkets. Like you can see, for some I was trying to give them +10, +10, +15, whatever is available. Try to give them some good stuff. These are the monsters that you use basically every day, except Sunday. So why not give them decent stuff? Gems in general is always a bit hard. You can see that I was using whatever set is available. Here it's a broken set. Ruin, ruin, ruin. But these are not incredible good ruin gems. They are decent. Let's take a look at them, for example. Has some resistance, some defense. Nice. Also really, this is more than enough quality. Has 1 roll into crit rate, 1 into resistance. Totally fine. This one has not even any crit rate. So in the end I'm, yeah, what is that, 77% plus 20%. So it's at, yeah, still more than enough. It's like 97%, super good. Like that's a really good advantage of this monster itself. That if you're using the leader skill, you're getting 20% more crit rate. So you're starting at 30%, you're adding a crit rate gem already at 84%. And then you basically from gems, from the other 2 gems, you only have to get like 14% crit rate. So you can really make use of gems which have, for example, like this one. It has no crit rate, which normally would mean it's really a shitty gem. But here you can simply make use of it. It's even not a bad gem. Has some crit rate, crit damage, some HP, some resistance. So you can give them really gems that other monsters shouldn't use. Yeah, and gem-wise itself, most of them are on attack, crit rate. Some are on attack, crit rate, crit damage. It's not the best build, but this is what I have. And yeah, this one, for example, has attack, crit damage. You can see it's lacking a bit crit rate, but hey, that's what this account has. You may have to make use of what it has. But of course I would like to have more crit rate. Then we have the Mio Wings. As I said, I'm trying to give them whatever is available. None of them is upgraded. They have no enhancements. That would have been the next step, but I wanted to make a video. Try to give them full books. For example, I was even missing this one. Even if it's only 10% more, the extra turn is not important because you directly take it away. But the 10% activation rate for like 200,000, we can directly take that. Like there you can see sometimes you're also missing some points. Okay, we have this one done now as well. Like I said, if you want to have it for style, to have it 5/5, that's fine. But you really don't need the extra turn. You are using the Mio Wings on the left side, and in exactly the same turn the right side will take it away, so it's not important. Gem-wise, you can, for example, go as for every other healer, HP, defense, recovery. Or if your left side's already a bit more tanky, has enhancements, trinkets and all that, you might want to go for HP, defense. But that's totally up to you. Both is working. I think that's it already. Yeah, that's the team. So let's go in.
Gave you too much, now I'm swallowed. Now I'm the fool while you're breaking rules. Dangerous path that I follow. Oh, go on, just do what you do. And it hurts as I bleed for you, cry for you. Oh, let me bleed as I bleed for you, cry for you. Oh, let me bleed. Let me all of the pain seems to follow like a shadow, dark and cold to the touch. Am I insane not to let go? Oh, go on, just do what you do. And it hurts as I bleed for you, cry for you. Oh, let me bleed as I bleed for you, cry for you. Oh, let me bleed. Let me bleed. Let me.
Okay, so as you could see, this team was doing really well. Like, the alpacas were farmable. Of course, I used 6 because of some flavor. I just like to build some funny things on this account. But as you could see, this monster itself has potential. And all these debuffer, healer and all that are commonly used monsters for endgame players. So lots of them are really easy to get. It's just very hard to get the attackers for it. As you can see, now we are on the main account. Here things obviously looking a bit different, but let me show you how the endgame team is looking. We have, let's take a look, the Amphibians again. As you can see, even as a late game build, the Amphibians still don't need any enhancements. They have enough HP and recovery defense. It's if you want to throw in 1-2 enhancements, some more HP, some more defense, totally fine. But as you can see, they are in general also missing some resistance. I was just putting some gems on them. It would be best that both lanes have max resistance. They are on HP HP defense, which they always should be. You can, if you are going for enhancements, you can go for defense defense HP. It would be easier to heal them, but in general this is how you should go. If you are very far in the end game and you have some luck with healer gems, you can also throw some healer gems on them. Then we have the Garudas. It would be better if they are on a leech set. This is end game. You need a leech set. As you can see, I was trying to get some HP, some attack, defense. Could have all been a bit higher, but this is what this account has. It's important to have the leech set. Here you can see I was also trying to go for something similar. Still giving the Garuda some attack. HP is that like ATK or something. Could all be a bit higher, but I think this is already enough to be playable. Obviously has all of these enhancements, the trinkets. Yeah, these are our debuffer for the weekend. You can see one is very close to be done, the other one sadly not. This is really important, and like I said before, you can use a water draker. Has a lot more chance to use the weekend. Up to you. Then we have, where are they? I'm not sure if I think I'm using one shark and one Venus. Not totally sure. They are both the same. Like one of them is used for the Fire Titan team, one is used for the Water Titan team. You can see they are completely on HP HP defense, and I'm still trying to get some recovery. It's the same for this one. They are completely trying to get as much HP and much defense as possible because they're taking more damage, and skill wise they are all the same as the Venus. The Venus is exactly the same. The only thing which is important to know is that the shark is faster. On the first team you could see that a Venus might have been better there, then at least the passive attack would have also been taken by the alpaca, but it is still important that the active of the alpaca was getting the exposed weakness, because that was the damage dealing skill. And there you might have to take a look if it's taking it away, depending on what attackers you are using. Normally I think none of them should be slow enough. And I'm thinking Thor is faster, I think Enkidu is faster, Merlin is faster. The only thing which is very important, you can see my Merlins here, that in case you have Evo 2 Merlins, it's very important that they have the costume. You can see it here, this one. Where is it? This one. Even if you are not into these customs things and whatever, but if you're using it, the Evo 2 Merlin is getting the attack animation of the Evo 3 Merlin. And the Evo 2 version has a very slow passive attack, while the Evo 3 has a really fast attack. Which means in the end, you are getting the exposed weakness on the Merlin. So it's very important to get the costume if you are using Evo 2 Merlins. And yeah, they of course, I'm trying to give them the best possible gems that I have. They are on attack attack crit damage. You can see nearly 100% crit rate, 150% crit damage, and it's an Evo 2, so still really high attack. The HP and defense is partly of it, mostly coming from the enhancements and the trinkets, and it's the same for the other Merlins. They are all around the same. You can see this one is missing, for example, some crit rate, but I took this risk. The set itself is really strong. and yeah, maybe I'm lucky to find one more good gem so that it's going at least over 90%, but till then it's totally fine. You can see they are booked. This one is partly booked, this one is fully booked. This is like when it's going into the end game. They are all around the same, and here you can see again, it don't has to be always one specific set. There is an intuition set, this one is a ruin set, you have a Valor set. Whatever you have and is good, this is the one that you are using. Let's see, what else do we have here? We have the Hanas. Again, no enhancements. They are strong enough. They have enough HP, enough defense and enough recovery. Maybe a bit more would be nice, but the priority is far, far below every other stuff. So maybe 1, 2, 3 enhancements would be my next thing to do at my Water Titan team. But yeah, they are all the same. You can see some are simply on a broken set. Whatever you are finding, this one even has a ruin set. But you can see it has a lot of HP, a lot of defense and a lot of recovery. This is what we want. You can see for the front lane you should get a decent amount of resistance. But yeah, very important is just that they are on the 5-5 here, or at least for endgame it's important. Trinkets and all that stuff. I think that's it even. Yeah, the Mew wings, you can see here it's more important to give them enhancements, trinkets and all that stuff. Resistance. This one is not even that good. It's acceptable but not that good. Same with this one. They could be better. Like I'm, for example, not satisfied with the HP. Should be a bit higher. Yeah, that's it. Could be a bit stronger, this team, especially which I'm lacking is the last Merlin. This is really important because both have the Evo 3, this one with the costume and this one is simply Evo 3, and sometimes one is getting the exposed weakness, sometimes the other, and of course you want to try to avoid the Evo 2 Merlin to get it. But overall I had now several hits which are around the same as I will show you now, so I think at least 20 more million is doable, maybe even more. I would say 20-30 million for sure. Just needs to have a really good run. I had in all these runs mostly either the front or the back line was really good. The other one was mediocre, so the damage was high but not that high. So yeah, let's go into the fight. In case you have any questions, simply ask. The other Titan videos will take a bit of time at the moment. There is nothing that I can use there. Light Titan has nothing. Dark Titan basically also has nothing. There are only very important choices. And for the Wood Titan there is also nothing that important which I could show you, which is a bit different. So the other Titans might take a bit of time. Maybe I'm just recording the endgame versions of it and talk about the other monsters which could be used. We will see. They will come faster than this one, but yeah, the next videos will be that I'm going for a real walkthrough again through the game from the beginning to a point where you are really able to farm a lot of stuff. The last time I did that is now I think around 2 years old, and I'm getting asked a lot, how should you play as a beginner, and for this reason I want to completely make a new series of a walkthrough of this game to a certain point where you are able to beat most of the stuff. So this will be next one. Enjoy the Titan fight and see you in the next video, guys. Bye.
now.